Patreon Q&A number 139. I want to thank all 129 of my amazing patrons. Guys, thank you so much for continuing to support me the way that you have been. And to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers for all the series I'm going to be talking about, so tread carefully. Boxsteam asks, do you think there's a reason that Blast wasn't able or decided to not kill the Ninja Leader or Elder Centipede? So this is a good question, and in my opinion, I think it probably ultimately comes down to the cubes. At this point, it's been established that like almost all of Blast's identity is him tracking down these cubes, right? I mean, as far back as we can go with Blast, and just one of the farthest back flashbacks in the series period is we see Blast saving Tatsumaki, and even at that time, he had one of the cubes. So we know that for the longest time, he's known about these cubes. So if we go 3 years into the future after that point, then that's around the time that he would have gone against the Ninja Leader. And then I guess 13 years after that point is when he went after Elder Centipede. So I'm assuming that, Blast was still heavily involved with the cubes in between that time, since even currently within the series, he's still actively going after them. Now, clearly we don't know the full details of those two battles. We just know that somehow they survived. In Chapter 84, or Chapter 82 according to Viz, the Bearded Worker says that when Blast gravely injured Elder Centipede, the monster escaped underground. And then the Hero Association worker with him says it's classified, but I informed King of Elder Centipede's feud with Blast. So now that we have a pretty good understanding of how powerful Blast is, this seems weird, right? That despite him gravely injuring him, he was still able to escape Blast, a character who is implied to be much faster than Flashy Flash, along with like crazy black hole powers. But also the fact that this is being classified makes me think that it probably has something to do with the cube. And it's possible that maybe Blast was trying to get information from Elder Centipede about the cube. Now, why would Elder Centipede know anything? Well, it's implied that he lived underground with the Subterraneans, where the Monster Association base currently is. And obviously there's a cube down there because Saitama and Flashy Flash found it. And also, I think the volume 23 table of contents, or volume 22, one of them shows that there was probably a cube down there for a very long time. So, like I said, it's possible that Elder Centipede being down there, has something to do with it maybe, and that's why Blast had an encounter with him, and it's also classified. Now, as for the Ninja Leader, I made a video about this before, but I put a theory out there that it's possible that Ninja Leader is a guy who actually made a deal with God. Like, he put his hand on the cube and got the power from God because he may have been worthy. Because the exposition on the Ninja Leader's origin is weird. It makes him seem like he's like some kind of vampire or something, or some kind of like pseudo monster. And the fact that the Ninja Village straight up looks like the cube itself makes me think that, it's probably connected, especially since Blast is involved in all of this. So maybe he was also trying to get information from the Ninja Leader as well and decided not to kill him maybe. Not really sure. There's so much that needs to be expanded upon with Blast's connection to these characters, especially the Ninja Leader, since he goes to the Ninja Village after the fact and takes out the younglings, allegedly. But overall, I do think there is greater significance to these characters surviving their encounter with Blast. Awakened Saitama asks, do you think that the cadres might start killing each other during the rest of the arc? Yeah, I do think more discourse between the cadres is going to happen for sure. It's kind of been set up that Black S is going to like double cross Homeless Emperor or something. So I assume that that will happen for sure. Don't know if he's necessarily going to kill him, because I think the whole confiscation with God and Zombie Man, all that stuff, that's probably still going to happen. But I do think at the minimum, Black S is going to play foil to Homeless Emperor. Dino W asks, what do you think of Weidman versus Hall? He broke his leg the same exact way Silva did back when they fought. Are we in the Matrix? Yeah, it's pretty crazy coincidence that had happened. And it's really unfortunate for that to happen to anyone. I can't imagine how awful that is. But I've also heard a few things about injuries like this over the years, and a lot of people seem to think that it's like the cause of many injuries, like many like micro fractures or just injuries that aren't taken care of, like with your leg, like throwing kicks or something. Like maybe you were injured multiple times in practice, and once it comes fight night, this was like the straw that broke the camel's back. For your second question, after seeing Bang finesse Fear Ugly with the water stream, redirecting his attacks back at him, wouldn't Awakened Garo be able to do the same thing when he fights Saitama and actually hurt him with his own attacks, or would it be like Darkshine where his sheer force is too much? So I don't think we've seen Garo do that to Saitama in the webcomic. I mean, he did counter and deflect his attacks, but never like back at him the way that Bang did to Fear Ugly. In theory, I guess he would be able to do it, but in execution, it's a whole other animal, obviously. I don't think we'll necessarily see Awakened Garo do that in the manga. Is it very possible that we could? For sure. Things are changing so drastically lately, but I don't think we'll see Saitama like straight up Fura Ugly himself in the face. Maybe we'll see him like deflect his punch, but having it back at him would really be a clowning moment for Saitama. But also it would finally answer the question of like, can Saitama damage himself? First Wolf asks, in the silhouettes of the other heroes from around the world, the one in the very front had a resemblance to Sabretooth from X-Men. Do you think a Sabretooth-like character in My Hero would be cool? Yeah, I think a Sabretooth character would be pretty cool in My Hero. We've already seen some characters that actually kind of have that, like Shishida in season 5 actually going on right now. His quirk is similar to what Sabretooth does in X-Men. And also that one pro hero that mainly got spotlight in the school festival arc. I think his name was Hound Dog. So it is possible that that one international hero might have like a Sabertoothy type quirk maybe. Freddy A asks, being an Esper, do you think Blast is aware of how strong Saitama is? If so, do you think he's concerned? So it's not confirmed yet that Blast is an Esper. We still don't fully understand him. But even if Blast was an Esper, I don't think that necessarily means that he understands how powerful Saitama is, because Tatsumaki doesn't seem to know, nor does Fubuki. So I don't think Espers necessarily have that ability, or at least it's not, you know, clear cut or straightforward as you would think it is. It's like reading a power level in Dragon Ball Z or something. But I think that Blast probably does have somewhat of an understanding of how strong Saitama is. Maybe he doesn't necessarily know that he's the one above all, but I'm sure he has to realize that he's not a B-class hero. For your second question, I always thought it was funny that people became monsters because of the things they do in excess of, like eating, etc. What would you become? I think we all know what I would become if I transformed into a monster. I'm doing something in excess, and that would be like the anime YouTuber monster or something. Like, I've edited too many videos, or I've read too many manga pages, and now I've become this big gross weeb monster. Jimmy P asks, which anime in your evaluation far surpasses or transcends its manga counterpart? I would say Yu Yu Hakusho for sure. Not saying the manga's bad because it's good, but the anime is just, it's night and day. For your second question, what Soma type am I? I'd say I'm probably just a mesomorph, or at least that just seems like what I am for the most part. I personally don't go off of the Sama type stuff too much. I mean, if you do, that's fine. Just me personally, I wouldn't say it's like a 100% concrete thing to go off of. Genetics and stuff, especially with like bodybuilding or fitness, is very individualized, and like you can look at somebody and say like, oh, they're an endomorph or they're an ectomorph or something, but that's not always 100% accurate. I've known plenty of people who are like hardcore ectomorphs, but then they just happen to be like hyper responders to like training or new food intake or something, and then now they're suddenly seem like they're mesomorphs with the rate that they excel. I personally just track my weight and track my calories and sometimes track my macros. L asks, do you think Bang may die in this arc using the abandonment? It's implied it could kill him. So I don't think he's going to, and I really hope he doesn't, but there definitely is a possibility that he could. I don't think he needs to die because it's already been established in the webcomic that, you know, he's going to retire, which I think will play out in the manga as well. So give Bang his last couple moments using the abandonment, you know, one shot, probably vomited Fear Ugly, and survive Homeless Emperor's carpet bombing, and then go on to retire and still be a part of the series, but just not like, you know, an active player. Little Ferrari asks, how do you think the battle with the cadres would differ with Goketsu around? If there was some way I could pay for Goketsu to come back, I would pay. But for sure, it would be way more difficult of a battle if Goketsu was around. And I actually think that he'd probably be pushing a lot of the cadres around too. Like, I think Fear Ugly and Gums are clearly on a tier below him, even to this day. And I think he would probably wind up having beef with like Black S and Homeless Emperor, but even then they would be wary of him because of how ridiculous he is. But I also do think that Bang would single him out, and he would probably single Bang out too. And it would just come down to them going against each other because Bang would be like, hey, you know what? I have to single this guy out. Kind of like how he's stepping up to take on Fear Ugly and Gums. But it would be much different and way more competitive with Goketsu. Samurai asks, how well do you think Mihawk could handle manga Zoro's Ashura? So really hard to say right now, but I'm looking forward to this, and I hope that it happens because, you know, there's the lingering theory that Mihawk may die before he faces Zoro, which very likely could happen. But at this point, you know, there's just no way to say for sure. But if I were just to take a bet, You know, I would say that he could probably defend the Ashura better than Kaido because, you know, Mihawk's like a straight up swordsman as to where Kaido's like a barbarian type or whatever, you know? And maybe Kaido took it a little easy on Zoro. I'm basically trying to say is I don't think Mihawk is definitively stronger than Kaido, but I think because of his individual skill set, he might be able to handle the Ashura better. Second question, how would things have gone if Tank Top Master and Darkshine switched pages in the last 4 to 5 chapters? It'd probably go a lot differently. Like, I think he maybe would have been able to defeat Fear Ugly. I would really have liked to see Darkshine go against Fura Ugly and Gums. I think those are very winnable matchups for him. Way more winnable than Tank Top Master because there's like a 2 or 3 tier difference between them. Delamante asks, are you going to listen to J. Cole's new album? So I'm going to be blunt here. I'm not really a fan of J. Cole. It doesn't mean I don't like him. You know, you just can't be a fan of everybody, and sometimes artists, music, and sound just doesn't gravitate towards me. But if it receives very high critical reception, then I will check it out. Sean H. asks, I was wondering if you had any interest in reading Chainsaw Man and Kaiju number 8. So I absolutely am going to go into those series for sure and cover them on the channel eventually, but I'm just waiting for their animes. Like Chainsaw Man's anime, I think might come out this year or next year at the earliest, and Kaiju number 8 hasn't been announced yet, but it eventually will be. It's picking up, you know, a similar amount of steam that Jujutsu Kaisen did, maybe even more before it had its anime. So once these two series, you know, pick up some steam from their animes, I'll definitely cover them for sure and read them in their entirety. Tom asks, have you heard of Fire Force? If not, it's definitely recommend you check it out if you're looking for a new series in manga. So I do know Fire Force. I have seen quite a few of the fights actually on the Twitch streams, and I enjoyed them. I mean, I didn't watch like full episodes or have like a real good understanding of what's going on within the series, but at least just in the context of the battles and the choreography and the power system, I enjoyed it. Will I get like hardcore into Fire Force and make content of it on the channel? Probably not. But never say never, I guess. Zackattack asks, what if Metal Bat received Zombie Man's regenerative abilities and on top of that had Metal Bat's fighting spirit stacked with the damage he took even if he regenerated? So I guess this might be the experiment that everyone wanted to see. You know, getting Metal Bat to his absolute peak of power or his theorized peak of power. I don't want to go too much off of the data book or the One Punch Man encyclopedia anymore because it just seems like a bunch of hyperbolic non-exposition, I'll say, written from the perspective of someone who could be living in the One Punch Man world. So I don't know if it's like one literally trying to give us like detailed, genuine exposition on these characters, or if it's just, you know, something that we shouldn't be taken too seriously, such in the case of his power approaching infinity when his rage become maximum. I don't know. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm paraphrasing. But on paper, if he had Zombie Man's ability, then he could reach this theorized infinite power or approaching maximum infinite, whatever it is. Your second question, Tank Top Master's Tank Top Magic, was he referring to what he said in chapter 144 with the premonition / feeling about killing Garo back in season 2? So are you saying that his possible tank top monstrification could have been shown way back then when he saw the aura coming off of Garo and thought that, hey, I need to kill him now before he gets out of control? Maybe, but I think more so that scene was just showing that Awakened Garo is going to be a thing. Like, that was for sure setting up that like Garo has insane potential to him and that what we are seeing is only the beginning and that he'll eventually get to the point of where, you know, the S-Class heroes won't be able to stop him, so Tank Top Master needs to kill him when he's still, like, demon level. Now, Tank Top Master even having the premonition ability in the first place, is that linked to supernatural powers coming from the Tank Top? Maybe, but I just more so think that sequence was for the narrative more than anything. Pod B asks, if they were in a sealed environment with no access to extra water, could Darkshine defeat evil natural water? So I won't get too much into semantics about this because I don't think it's been revealed in the manga yet that evil natural water can regenerate from pulling water from the air, or has it? I don't know, but let's just say that's off the table and there's just a limited amount of evil natural water. He can't replenish himself. Could Darkshine defeat him? Maybe. I mean, if he just kept like punching him the way that he did in the latest chapter, I mean, I guess it would get to the point of diminishing returns, right? And then for your second question, do you think we'll see Rover again in this arc before he becomes small, and maybe get more info as to why that happened? So I think it's possible that we might see Rover. I mean, like I always say, things are changing so much with every chapter. The next chapter, for all we know, we can get an update on Rover. But regardless, if we do see him or not, you know, when he shows up at the very end, I think we'll for sure get an explanation onto why he became small. I mean, it's kind of owed to us at this point, right? But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 129 of my amazing patrons. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, simply check out the Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. The link is in the description. Also, have a great day, guys. I'll see you in the next one.